Hello, everybody. This is another study of Oahspe.com, copyright for YouTube video about the Orachnebuahgalah plate. Now, this is part 2 from where I left off last time. Now, I'm scrolling down to where I left off last time. It's going to take a while. Okay, starting right here. Now, Sivorcum equals sub-galactic orbit of the Orachnebuahgalah plate of Oahspe. Sivorcum equals 434 light years to Polaris times pi 3.1415926 equals 1363.4511 times 2 equals 2726.9022 equals 2727 light years. And I went through this before. Okay, 1,600 arc cycles in each circuit. 2727 light years divided by 1,600 equals 1.7043 light years per arc cycle. And I showed you that before. Now, match light years distance travel of the solar phalanx to prophetic numbers and words on the Orachnebuahgalah plate of Oahspe. I came up with this on August 11th, 2014. Hidden mathematical astronomical code to prophecy equals every 1 arc cycle of Sivorcum distance in light years divided by 3,000 times 1,000 equals one number on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. Light years distance of the solar phalanx in Sivorcum. We'll start off right here. Okay, right here on this. When the solar system has traveled 19 years, it has traveled 0.010 light years, which equals 10 arbitration on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. So add 1849 plus 19 equals 1867. 1867, what manifested historically? was the British North America Act, arbitration award by 2 arbitrators. Arbitration under the British North America Act, 1867, proceedings and award by 2 arbitrators. And if you click on this link, which I provide here, it'll take you to this right here. Scroll down, and there, right there, it says arbitration under the British North America Act 1867, microfilm, law opinion on proceedings and award by 2 arbitrators. 1867, Canada, Great Britain, so on and so forth. Okay, I'm going to do a little recap. Each arc cycle right here is 1.7043 light years. You divide by 3,000, and that'll get you how far in 1 year, because there's 3,000 years in each arc cycle. That'll get you how far the solar system travels in 1 year in light years. So 1.7043 divided by 3,000 equals 0.000561, and that's how far in light years in 1 year the solar system travels. You multiply that number by the number of years will give you how far it has traveled in light years for that number of years. Like, for example, in 84 years, the solar system had traveled 0.0477, rounded up to 0.048 light years of Savorcum, which is equivalent to 48 peace on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. So you have the 48 there, 0.048, and the 48 piece. If you multiply this number by 1,000, you get the whole number 48. And as I said in the previous video, there's a synchronism between the numbers and words on the Orachnebuahgalah plate and the light years distance traveled by the solar system. And I don't think that's a coincidence. So, continuing, just as I spoke about, when the solar system has traveled 84 years, it has traveled 0.048 light years distance. Light years is a measurement of distance. Even though it has the word year in there, it's a measurement of distance. So 0.048 light years equals 48 peace on the Orachnebuahgalah. And the solar system had to travel 84 years for it to travel that many light years. 0.048. So 1848 plus 84 equals 1932. In 1932, the solar system had traveled 84 years since the dawn of Cosmos, and it had traveled 0.048 light years times 1,000, which in the book of Cosmogony and Prophecy, it talks about the 1 to 1,000 ratio. I believe in the 7th chapter, the same chapter, it talks about the Orachnebuahgalah. So 0.048 light years equals 48 peace on the Orachnebuahgalah. So that was 1932. What happened in 1932? Well, in 1932, there was the World Peace Conference, First World Disarmament Conference ever. It had no precedence. 1932, it was the first World Disarmament Conference ever called. It had no precedence. And if you click right here on this link, which is www.historichampshire.org, Swanson, /Swanson/disarm, you click on that link and it'll bring up that website, which it says right there, Disarmament Conference. Swanson, who was a senator, served as member of the United States delegation to the General Disarmament Conference held in Geneva in 1932. If you scroll down, you'll see other news articles there. Let's see. The Washington Post, 1932. And you scroll down again, and there's another news article saying Disarmament Conference, United States Senate, American Delegate, World Disarmament Conference, Geneva, Switzerland. It says right here, it was the first World Disarmament Conference ever called. It had no precedents, no beaten or tried past to direct its course. So, and you can read more of that whenever you want to. So, returning back. So, the next thing is when the solar system had traveled 116 years, it had traveled 0.066 light years, which was equivalent to Oahspe 66 and 66 war on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. So 116 years plus 1848 equals 1964. And in 1964, there was the Gulf of Tonkin incident led to America's entry into Vietnam War. So we click on that link that I have there, and it says Gulf of Tonkin, 1964. The incident in the Gulf of Tonkin led to America's open entry into the Vietnam War. So there you go. And going back, in 1964, remember, Oahspe also says that when the earth passes through Oahspe, it brings a cold year upon the earth. And so let's see, in 1964, it was the coldest down spike or sharp drop in global temperature of the 50-year period from 1950 to 2000, which is equivalent to Oahspe, or the Beast. And you click right here on this weather, history, and climate for 1950 AD to 2000 AD, the worldwide historical temperature trends. In this red line here is for temperature, right there, temperature. And we're looking at 1964, and right there, you see that sharp drop in global temperature. and that was much below normal cold. So that is a sign of Aji, as it says in Oahspe, in the book of Safa, that Aji, when the earth passes through Aji, it brings a cold year upon the earth. And on the Orachnebuahgalah plate is written Aji 66. So there is the manifestation of the Aji right there. The cold downspike, much below normal cold. As Oahspe says in the book of Safa, Aji bringeth a cold year upon the earth. And there you see it right there. So that was also precise and accurate according to these mathematical calculations I'm doing. So the next thing is when the solar system had traveled 155 years, it had traveled 0.088 light years, which is equivalent to 88 worship and war on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. So we go down here and we have 1848 plus 155 equals 2003. So in 2003, 155 years after the dawn of Cosmon, the solar system had traveled 0.088 light years, which is equivalent to 88 war on a Orachnebuahgalah plate. So was there a manifestation of war in that year? And when we scroll down right here, yes, it was. In 2003, there was the invasion of Iraq, the Iraq War, Operation Iraqi Freedom by the United States. And if you click on the link that I have there, the Wikipedia link, 2003 invasion of Iraq, it says the 2003 invasion of Iraq was the first stage of the Iraq War. The invasion phase began on 19 March 2003 in the air and 20 March 2003 on the ground. Right there. Tells you the U.S.-led coalition sent 177,194 troops into Iraq during the initial invasion phase. So there you have it. A manifestation of war, just as it was written on the Orachnebuahgalah prophecy plate of Oahspe. And it lines up with the mathematical calculations that I did based on a hidden mathematical astronomical code based on light years travel of the solar phalanx or solar system. Now the next thing is when the solar system had traveled 159 years, it had traveled 0.090 light years, which equals 90 learning on Orachnebuahgalah plate. So 159 years right here plus 1848 equals 2000. Well, let me get that right. 1848 plus 159 equals 2007. And what happened in 2007 that has to do with learning? The word written on the Orachnebuahgalah plate, learning. And in 2007, we see there was a United Nations First Education for All global goal. First Education for All global goal. That sounds similar to the First World Disarmament Conference, which coincided with peace that was written on the Orachnebuahgalah. And in 2007, we have the first Education for All global goal, which coincides with the word learning on the Orachnebuahgalah. Learning and education go together. And if you click on the link that I have there, you see this United Nations Education Initiative. Right there, it says Global Section Press Releases. Launch of the 2007 Education for All Global Monitoring Report. And there you go. So that was in 2007. And so far, this mathematical code to prophecy that I discovered in 2014 has been precise with what is written on the Orachnebuahgalah plate for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I've shown. All precise. Now the next thing is when the solar system had traveled 175 years, it had traveled 0.099 light years, which is equivalent to 98 war on the Orachnebuahgalah plate, to 99 war on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. So 175 years. So 1848 plus 175 equals 2023. Now that's it, 3 years in the future. So according to the mathematical code that I've used to decode the Orachnebuahgalah plate, that will be a year of war manifestation, just like there was a war manifestation in 2003 with the invasion of Iraq, and in 1964 with the Vietnam War, and so on and so forth. So that remains to be seen. But so far, this mathematical code, based on light years travel of the solar system, has been precise and accurate with the Orachnebuahgalah plate. Another thing is 176 years into the arc of Cosmon, this current cycle, the solar system will have traveled 0.100 light years, which is equal to 100 order on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. And that would be 1848 plus 176 equals 2024, which is 4 years from now. So that remains to be seen if there is a manifestation of order in that year. But there you have it. That's decoding the Orachnebuahgalah plate using this mathematical light years distance travel code that I discovered to prophecy. Now here's one other thing. On the Orachnebuahgalah plate is written 50 arbitration. Well, let's see. When the solar system had traveled 89 years, it had traveled 0.050 times 1,000 equals 50.56. So 1848 plus 89 equals 1937. And in 1937, we had the Arbitration, Protocol and Convention Act 1937, Act number 6 of 1937, Pakistan Statutes on Arbitration in India, i.e. the Arbitration Protocol and Convention Act 1937, San Francisco Hotel Strike of 1937, Arbitration Proceedings 1937. So if I click on the link that I have there, it'll take you to what I just read. Arbitration Protocol and Convention Act 1937, dealing with Pakistan and India. Provisions respecting the law of arbitration in Pakistan. And then you scroll down, it says Guide to the San Francisco Hotel Strike of 1937, Arbitration Proceedings. So there you go. Both of those occurring in 1937, which is a manifestation of what was written on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. Now there was another arbitration written on the Orachnebuahgalah plate where it said 20 arbitration. So in 1 year, the solar system travels 0.0005681 light years. Times 35 means that in 35 years, the solar system had traveled 0.0198 light years, which is equivalent to 19.88 rounded to 20, which is equivalent to 20 arbitration on the Orachnebuahgalah plate. So 1848 plus 35 equals 1883. And what happened in 1883 in regards to arbitration? The London Court of International Arbitration, LCI-8, dates back to 1883. You click on that link that I have there, and it takes you to historic documents, historic arbitration, arbitration history. And it says right here, ICCA has enlisted the expertise of members to delve into the history of arbitral practice and comment on. Part with the text of a handwritten arbitration award in a shipping dispute in 1883. So there you go. Right there, there's an article on the epitome of the law of arbitration and awards, 1883. London Court of International Arbitration, International Commercial Arbitration. On 5 April 1883, the Court of Common Council of the City of London set up a committee to draw up proposals for the establishment of a tribunal for the arbitration of domestic and in particular of international arbitration. So there you go. London Court of International Arbitration, 1883. And that lines up with what was written on the Orachnebuahgalah plate right there, 1883, and the mathematical code that I discovered to prophecy that relates to the Orachnebuahgalah plate. And here I wrote, it is not coincidental that the words and numbers on the Orachnebuahgalah plate align with historical manifestations that are listed above. So these historical manifestations is the proof so far that I have decoded the Orachnebuahgalah plate with this mathematical light years distance calculations. And underneath that, from page 149 of 7 Years That Changed the World, 1941 to 1948 by Wing Anderson, published in 1940, he says, "The travel of the solar family can be timed upon the Creator's clock, and future events foretold with mathematical accuracy by one possessed of spiritual insight." Foretold with mathematical accuracy. That sounds like what I just showed you. And here we see the solar system traveling through nebulous space. We have the mathematical calculations on a blackboard. The mathematical calculations I did on a blackboard related to 48 piece on the Orachnebuahgalah plate and light years distance traveled of the solar system. Right there it says above calculations equals hidden mathematical astronomical code to prophecy. Hidden mathematical astronomical code to prophecy, Orachnebuahgalah. And it's based upon, there again, that mathematics right there